Today, we got an explosive story about none other than Gene Hackman. Yes, the same Gene Hackman you know from Hollywood's golden age. This isn't your average trip down memory lane. We're talking shocking secrets, megastar drama, and a scandal that's about to blow your mind. Trust me, you won't want to miss these revelations about money, power, and the crumbling empire behind it all. If you've been itching for Gene Hackman's latest news, or you're hungry for a real Gene Hackman scandal update, consider this your front row seat to all the drama. We're diving into the family tensions that could give any Hollywood plot a run for its money. Did you know that Gene Hackman's relentless climb to stardom might have cost him more than just a few sleepless nights? We'll be talking about how that pursuit of fame possibly tore his household apart, left behind broken hearts, and maybe even sparked a quiet empire deception that's now coming apart at the seams. We'll start by revisiting the early days when Gene was just another struggling actor with big dreams and even bigger ambitions. Then, we'll get into his marriage to Faye Maltz, the real story behind the second wife Betsy Arakawa, and why everyone is buzzing about mysterious phone calls and hidden fortunes. Could it all be tied to a thirst for money, power, and the ultimate Hollywood legacy? Let's lay down the basics of Gene Hackman and his rise to fame. And trust me, it's a story that reeks of ambition, struggle, and a hefty dose of star power. Picture a young, lanky Gene Hackman in 1950s New York, filled with dreams of making it big on the silver screen. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Instead, he was juggling odd jobs, auditioning for roles left and right, and scraping by in a tiny apartment that could barely pass for livable. Pretty humbling, right? Now, in the midst of this hustle, Hackman met his first wife, Faye Maltz, at a YMCA dance. And guess what? This was no Cinderella story. Though they had that romantic spark at the start, money was tight, the apartment was cold, and dreams were big, but oh so unattainable. Faye was a practical one, handling bills, cooking meals, and acting like the backbone of the relationship so Gene could keep chasing his Hollywood fantasies. Think of it as the ultimate supporting role, except it wasn't on set, it was in real life. Then came the big break. Hackman snagged smaller roles, made a splash in Hollywood, and soared to celebrity status. We're talking red carpets, flashing cameras, the works. Suddenly, Gene Hackman was no longer just an aspiring actor. He was a household name. As we all know, when fame rolls in, money and power aren't far behind. But here's where the empire building begins. With every new role, Gene got busier. More filming schedules, more time away from home, more distance from the wife and kids. Sure, the bank account ballooned, but at what cost? Fast forward to the 1980s. After decades together, Gene Hackman and Faye Maltz split. The cause? A slow-burning emotional meltdown, fueled by the bright lights of stardom. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Enter Betsy Arakawa, the younger wife who added a new dimension to Gene's life. The duo moved to Santa Fe, living far from the Hollywood hub. And for a while, it seemed like the happily ever after Gene had been missing. But behind closed doors, rumors suggest there might have been more than meets the eye. From questionable inheritance plans to hush-hush secrets about how Hackman's empire was truly managed. And that's where the real scandal emerges. We have hush money, family feuds, and a desperate bid to control the narrative, all swirling around this living legend, Gene Hackman, and the empire he created. The big questions remain. How did he handle the fortune and fame that came his way? Did the pursuit of power overshadow his role as a husband and father? And most importantly, what crumbling secrets are about to unravel? Stick around as we roll out the bombshell details in our next segment. Okay, folks, get ready for the main course of this juicy saga, Gene Hackman scandal update in all its complicated glory. We've got love, betrayal, heartbreak, and money at every corner. So let's dissect the heart of the matter. When you're dealing with Hollywood icons, it's never just about the acting chops. It's about brand building, influence-wielding, and controlling the flow of cash. Rumor has it, once Gene Hackman broke into mainstream Hollywood, he constructed an internal network of advisors, managers, and so-called fixers who took care of more than just contracts. They organized his schedules, his PR, and, allegedly, even the way family matters were handled. Because, hey, if you're a big star with big money, why not shape your private life to maintain that perfect public image? Some say that in these early years of success, Gene Hackman shut out the voices that pleaded for balance. Friends, extended family, even his own kids tried to tell him, hey, you're missing birthdays, you're missing real life. But guess what overshadowed everything else? the unstoppable ambition to keep his name in lights and the cash rolling in. And if you believe the insider whispers, certain folks in his orbit encourage him to do exactly that. After all, if Gene Hackman's star power kept growing, so did their paychecks and influence. Now, let's talk about the woman who was there from day one. Faye Mouts was no gold digger looking for a free ride. She was more like the silent partner who believed in the dream. When the money and power started rolling in, though, that silent partnership got complicated. How do you tell your spouse to slow down when the entire city is chanting his name? Faye found herself in the role of caretaker, not just for the household, but for Hackman's emotional well-being. And as time wore on, she realized she was basically living someone else's life. The real kicker, despite the financial success, Faye ended up feeling more invisible than ever. You might think, oh, but she's set for life financially, right? Possibly, but money doesn't always buy happiness. Sometimes it only highlights the power dynamics behind closed doors. By the 1980s, the marriage was a husk of its former self. They split, but behind that polite and official reconcilable differences lay decades of resentment, lost opportunities, and unspoken secrets that tied directly back to the unstoppable Hollywood machine fueled by fame and fortune. After one chapter ends, another begins. Enter Betsy Arakawa, younger, glamorous, and rumored to be the breath of fresh air Hackman was craving. The two got hitched, and soon they relocated to Santa Fe, seeking peace away from LA's glare. But peace and quiet don't necessarily mean there's no drama. Rumors flew about secret funds, hidden accounts, and a questionable inheritance plan. When big names in Hollywood move their operations to a secluded location, tongues tend to wag. And you can guess the gist. What are they hiding? Some claim Betsy was simply a loyal partner who helped Hackman heal from the wounds of his first marriage. Others suspect she was part of a bigger plan to streamline Hackman's finances and keep his empire and its wealth within a tight-knit circle. Talk about money and power, folks. It's practically a script out of a Hollywood thriller. The transcript we've seen, allegedly detailing final phone calls, questionable timelines, and even bizarre circumstances surrounding Hackman's later years, paints quite the picture. According to these accounts, Betsy and Gene seemingly disappeared from public view, raising suspicion about their health and, more importantly, their finances. One part of the story involves a phone call Betsy supposedly made to arrange a medical appointment for Gene, even though there are conflicting reports about her own health situation at the time. Whether these details are 100% accurate or not, they definitely stir up speculation about the couple's final weeks. Did they isolate themselves to maintain control over Gene Hackman's brand? Were they worried about opportunists trying to get a piece of the pie? Or was there an actual health crisis they were trying to manage away from paparazzi lenses? One thing's for sure, in Hollywood, sometimes the biggest secrets come to light only in someone's final days, and those secrets almost always tie back to money, power, or both. But what about Gene Hackman's children with Faye? If you follow the rumor mill, there's talk of friction over estates, especially if the second wife was chosen as the main beneficiary. That's where the term empire deception really starts to ring. Imagine building a fortune north of tens of millions, maybe more. Then imagine your kids feeling shut out or overshadowed by a newer spouse. It's the classic Hollywood story of a star who can't reconcile his legacy with his family obligations. And here's the kicker. Gene Hackman apparently left most of his fortune to Betsy in his will, which caused uproar when the timelines of their passings got all tangled. Did the children fight for their rightful inheritance? Did they suspect shady dealings under the table? The minute money and power come into play, families can quickly turn into feuding factions, questioning each other's motives and forming alliances to grab what they believe is theirs. So, are we watching the collapse of an empire built on star power, hush-hush tactics, and strained family ties? Or is it just a case of a private man who kept his personal life under tight wraps? For fans looking into Gene Hackman's scandal update, it's easy to paint him as either a power-obsessed Hollywood mogul or a misunderstood artist who paid too steep a price for fame. Maybe it's a little of both. One thing's for certain. This story reveals that behind every enormous celebrity fortune, there can be heartbreak, betrayal, and families left wondering where it all went wrong. This narrative is bigger than one man. It's about how far someone will go to maintain their status and legacy, even when it tears relationships to shreds. Does that remind you of other Hollywood icons? Probably, but none quite so beloved and now so controversial as the legendary Gene Hackman. We still have more to discuss about the public's reaction, the hidden details we've uncovered, and the shocking way these revelations have forced Hollywood to reconsider one of its greatest stars. Don't go anywhere. This isn't over yet. All right, so how has the world reacted to these revelations about Gene Hackman? Let's just say Hollywood is collectively gasping. Remember, we're not talking about some B-list actor from a reality show. We're talking about a titan of cinema whose name commands respect. Fans and fellow actors alike always viewed Hackman as that one-of-a-kind performer who effortlessly shifted from role to role, collecting Oscars and critical acclaim along the way. So, hearing these hush-hush tales about possible financial manipulations, family estrangements, and suspicious final days feels like a direct punch to the nostalgic good old Hollywood heart. On social media, where armchair detectives unite, people are going wild. Some are outraged, questioning how such an iconic figure could potentially prioritize a swelling bank account or rigid control over his brand at the expense of real relationships. Others are more sympathetic, pointing out that every star has skeletons in their closet, and that Hackman's era, in particular, was known for personal troubles lurking behind that polished Tinseltown veneer. It's essentially a debate about whether we separate the man from his masterpiece. What do you think? Should we hold our idols accountable for private turmoil that collides with public adoration? Meanwhile, entertainment news outlets are having a field day. From talk shows to gossip columns, Gene Hackman's latest news is trending like wildfire. Some outlets keep it respectful, focusing on how these revelations might highlight the toll of extreme fame. Others are going full tabloid, touting secret affairs, hidden bank accounts, and basically painting a picture of a Machiavellian puppet master orchestrating every aspect of his life from behind the scenes. Is that an exaggeration? Hard to say, but it sure gets clicks. Industry insiders, directors, producers, and co-stars who work with Hackman mostly keep their statements brief and cordial, praising his on-set professionalism and enormous talent. You get the sense that some folks are holding back, perhaps not wanting to speak ill of a revered legend or jump into legal drama if the estate is up for contest. After all, if money is the core of the scandal, you never know who might be called in for depositions or testimonies down the line. And then we have the fans of the original Hackman flicks. You know, the diehards who consider him the GOAT. For them, learning these behind-the-scenes issues is heartbreaking. They're grappling with how to reconcile the cinematic hero with the complicated real-life figure. Do you cling to the legacy of cinematic brilliance, or do you let these revelations color your entire view of him? Let's not forget the family's perspective, especially the children from the first marriage to Faye Mounts. If these grown kids were already feeling cut out, the swirling rumors must be both painful and infuriating. Imagine seeing your father's name dragged through the mud, while also possibly facing a personal battle for inheritance you believe you're entitled to. Talk about emotionally exhausting. What's your take on all this? Are you still a fan, or have these controversies changed your view? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation rolling. After all, part of what makes Hollywood so fascinating is exactly this dance between image and reality. And let's be honest, it's a show we just can't stop watching. All right, enough doom and gloom. Let's sprinkle in some surprising tidbits you might not know about Gene Hackman. Because even amid scandal, we can't overlook his undeniably interesting career and life. Here are a few fun facts, and maybe some eyebrow-raising tidbits, to keep things juicy. Rejected? No problem. Before becoming a household name, Gene Hackman was supposedly voted least likely to succeed by his acting classmates. Ironically, those same people probably asked for his autograph once he hit the big leagues. Talk about rags to riches. Proving money and power are fickle friends indeed. The famous temper. Legend has it that Hackman was known for being a bit short-tempered on set. Co-stars have joked that you had to time your questions just right to avoid a verbal smackdown. Could that intense personality have bled into his personal life? The Santa Fe Sanctuary. When Hackman and Betsy moved to Santa Fe, they did so under the radar, sparking questions about why a star so big would leave Hollywood behind. The official story was they loved the quiet life. But was it also a strategic move to maintain control over his empire, away from prying eyes? Writer at heart. Fun fact, Gene Hackman co-wrote several historical novels after stepping away from acting. One has to wonder, did he pour any personal experiences or secrets into those pages? What about this state? Rumor has it that, despite a huge fortune, Hackman rarely indulged in extravagant Hollywood purchases. No massive yacht or theme park-sized mansion. Some say he was quite conservative with his money, which makes the entire scandal about inheritance and hidden financial dealings all the more mysterious. Now, these tidbits might seem harmless, but they actually paint a fuller portrait of the man at the center of this meltdown. Yes, he was wildly successful. Yes, he had a temper that matched his drive. And yes, he ended up in Santa Fe, seemingly at peace, yet possibly orchestrating the final moves of his crumbling empire. If you think about it, these fun facts tie right back to the theme of money, power, and how an outwardly calm surface can hide deeper, more complex currents. Did you know any of these stories before? Or do they shed new light on how a big star like Gene Hackman could have had so many secrets? And that, my friends, is the story of Gene Hackman, or at least a story we've pieced together from insider whispers, family drama, and puzzling final day accounts. It's a story that starts with a dream in a cramped New York apartment and ends with an empire that might just be collapsing under its own weight. We've talked about money, we've talked about power, we've touched on scandal after scandal. Now the question is, where do we go from here? For those of us on the outside, it's tempting to write this off as just another Hollywood story. Big star, big ego, big fortune, big fallout. But remember, Gene Hackman's latest news isn't just about one man. It's about the entire machine that can chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful. It's about the deals made in backrooms, the attorneys scribbling on reams of legal paperwork, and the families left in the crossfire, wondering what happened to the person they once knew. What's next? Will we ever get a tell-all from the family? A shocking revelation from a lost journal or a secret video message that flips the entire narrative upside down? And how do you, as a viewer, feel about it? Are you convinced that Gene Hackman orchestrated the perfect deception? Or do you see him as a flawed human who got trapped in the Hollywood machine? Let's be real. We all love a good underdog story, but we also can't resist a juicy scandal. It's just how we're wired. Drop a comment below. Do you believe Gene Hackman's drive for success sabotaged his family life? Or is this just the price of fame? Would you have done anything differently in his shoes? And hey, while you're at it, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Because if there's one thing we know about celebrity scandals, it's that they never end with one big reveal. They roll on, picking up twists and turns, until we're all left wondering if we ever really knew these stars at all.